Teen reunited with pet Rooster. That's hilarious. Lost at Alabama Cracker Barrel. After Civil War reenactments.
Totally nonsense on Nonsense News Nation. Totally.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kids and cadets, to another riveting edition of Totally Nonsense on Nonsense News Nation. I'm your host / boy, Brandon Scott Ellis, here named Shmuel Melech.
And I am Scott Honigman Phantasm, and I'm also Jewish, but I don't go around telling people my Jewish name just because I don't remember it. That's the only reason.
And the rampant anti-Semitism in the world, Scott.
You gotta be really careful where you talk about your Jewish heritage.
Exactly.
Be very careful.
Even in Israel. I went to Israel like 2 years ago, and I still had to be careful. Because if you just went like the streets of Israel, then you'd be grass, my friend.
Even in Katz Deli in the middle of Manhattan, you still don't want to talk about how Jewish you are. Even if you're in a synagogue, you got to be careful who you tell.
You can't trust the Jewish God, because maybe the Jewish God isn't real. Maybe it's one of the Greek gods. Maybe it's Zeus. He's going to strike you down with lightning if you say that you're Jewish. But speaking of religion, Scott, I have denounced my Jewish heritage completely in favor of a new religion called the Nonsense News Nation religion.
It feels so good to be back. I have a new mic. It feels like we haven't done this in such a long time, and I feel ready to go with this new mic I got.
And let's get right to it. We're going to talk about the latest nonsense in the world. We're going to have some fun, some chuckles, some laughs, some serious conversations, and some other things in between. So, Scott, you have a story that you want to share with the world. Please do.
That's right. Like Brandon says, what we do here on Nonsense News Nation is we find the nonsense in the news, and nationally, we talk about it. So, the story I found here, Brandon, came out just a few days ago. We're recording this on Tuesday the 16th. This came out a few days ago. Let me just read you the headline. I am not a cat. Find and use the infamous lawyer cat filter everyone's talking about. So what this story is referring to is a few days ago, a lawyer from Texas was doing a Zoom call with a judge and another attorney. And what happened was, the lawyer in question, his name is Rod Ponton. He was using his secretary's laptop, and he got into the Zoom call. And when he got into the Zoom call, a cat filter was enabled, and he couldn't find any way to disable it throughout almost the entire duration of the Zoom call. And he was so confused, this lawyer, because this is an elderly gentleman, Brandon. He doesn't know what filters are. He's like the Herschel Green of lawyers. He's old. He doesn't understand filters and, Zoom calls. He's figuring this all out. Supposedly, the reason that the filter was enabled in the first place is because his secretary lets her daughter use the laptop, and I guess when she's on Zoom, she likes to mess around with filters. He had this cat filter enabled. He could not disable it no matter what he tried. He didn't know what he was doing, and the judge and the other lawyer who were on the Zoom call with him were just bewildered. They're just like, what are you doing? Why do you look like a cat?
Wait, so they didn't even know what a filter was either?
I mean, I guess to some extent they knew it was, something with Zoom, but still I guess they were confused as to why Rod was using the filter in the first place,
Why you look like a cat right now. I thought you were a human.
But I think one of the funniest things...
Oh my God, a talking cat.
They didn't know what filters were at all, so they started calling people, there's a cat talking to me.
Can you imagine? So, in the early 1900s, I guess it was 1920s or earlier, when the first movie came out, The Great Train Robbery, it ends with someone pointing their gun at the camera and pretending to shoot, and people would freak out and scream in the theater because they thought they were getting shot. So can you imagine if you took in the early 1900s Zoom or something, and you gave them a cat filter, would they scream and think that they're cat people?
Yeah, I mean, that also reminds me of the War of the Worlds radio show, where in the 30s somebody was doing a radio show and it was just a theater thing where they were talking about aliens were invading the world, and a bunch of people believed it and started going crazy. So
I've heard about that.
To your point, if you were to bring a laptop back in time and use a cat filter, a lot of people would be convinced that it was a real talking cat. Honestly, the judge and the other attorney on call may have even at first thought that a cat was talking to them because they're that old. But one of the funniest things about this story was Ron Ponton, the attorney who was using the cat filter without his own consent. He kept saying, "I'm here, I'm live, but I'm not a cat." He just kept repeating that. "I'm not a cat, I promise you."
Is there anything else you need to say about your story?
All I can say is, I'm not a cat. Don't believe me. I'm not a cat. Even though I look like a cat and my lips are moving and I'm talking, I'm not a cat.
Scott, I'm looking at your screen right now, and you're wearing glasses that are very similar to Tony Stark. So you got to tell me, instead of "I'm not a cat," I'm not Iron Man.
I'm not Iron Man, Brandon. Not this time.
So anyway, I have a story. I just found it and I want to talk to you about it. It's from, I think it's called Alabama.com.
What?
You know you're in for a ride when this is from Alabama.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so here we go. This is the headline. Teen reunited with pet rooster. That's hilarious. Lost at Alabama Cracker Barrel after Civil War reenactment.
I wish news titles were like that all the time.
Was the rooster integral to the reenactment? Did it go "Arr, arr, arr," and then the battle starts? Why was the rooster so important?
And how did it get lost?
Cracker Barrel? I did see all these very unique kind of birds that sort of looked like chickens or like little turkeys when I went to Cracker Barrel in Florida back in 2018. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're just miscellaneous birds roaming around. And if there ever is a bird that happens to be near a Cracker Barrel, it will get lost into the infinite void. Anyway, there's a nice picture, and it shows a Civil War reenactment. So it's people with Confederate and Union outfits in the background, and in the foreground is this rooster. And I can't tell if this is an actual picture or they just cropped in the rooster. I really can't tell. It's Alabama, so anything goes. So I'm going to read to you this article here. This is my first time reading it, and this will be your first time hearing it. When a visiting rooster flew the coop... I'm sorry.
This is already amazing.
Okay, so my mouse was on the C. You know the letter P? How there's a vertical line that makes it a P.
Yeah.
So my mouse made a vertical line on the C. So it looked like poop. I'm sorry, I'm like a 5-year-old. When a visiting rooster flew the coop, the people of Coleman stepped up to help reunite the owner with his feathered friend. It all started when 18-year-old Thomas Ramsey, a student at Copia Academy in Galman and founder of the Muddy Rabbits mess. What? It's a 32-member military reenactment group and the largest youth group nationally. Was returning from a Civil War reenactment in Spring Hill, Tennessee, and stopped for lunch on January 31st at Cracker Barrel in Coleman, with him and his friend Jonas Patrick and his Buff Orpington rooster Peep. Okay, let's unpack this first paragraph now.
I don't even know what's going on.
But anyway, Muddy Rabbits mess, a 32-member military reenactment group. So they're dedicated to reenacting the Civil War. Maybe they do other reenactments. Maybe World War I. Maybe they make homemade mustard gas and dig up trenches. Spring Hill, Tennessee. They stop for lunch with their rooster, Peep. What a name for... It's a very appropriate name for a rooster. Okay, so let's continue on. Peep is a handsome fellow, in keeping with the standards of this heritage breed of chicken. Heavy with a broad body and low stance and having a bold, upright, and graceful carriage.
Somebody sounds really attracted to this rooster.
That's a lot of powerful adjectives to describe a rooster, and he's been the cock of the walk ever since Ramsey found him on a roadside last summer when he was still a young chick. So Ramsey has been participating in reenactment since he was 14. It's a way, he said, to really connect with history as they reenact wars from the late colonial time up to World War II. So they do World War II. Most of the reenactments he participates in, though, are from the Civil War. Okay, let's see how he defend this.
I really hope this guy is fighting for the Union in these reenactments.
Yeah, it's a part of history that needs to be represented, and we represent it as accurately as we can, he said. That's concerning. He's been around the country from Pennsylvania to West Texas. I bet when you're in West Texas, the Confederacy wins, participating in 16 to 20 reenactments each year. He'll spend 3 hours a day for 6 to 7 months researching for an event. When he's been part of organizing events, the research kicks up to 6 to 7 hours a day over a multiple months. For one event, he said, I had all my men spend a minimum of 10 months preparing with accents and everything. It has to be accurate, and they do months of preparations just to even get the accents right. So I'm going to skip these paragraphs and go right to where they're talking about the rooster, about Peep. He said there have been numerous accounts of soldiers going to war with animals, so including camels and, roosters. He says, you'll read journals of people carrying not just fighting roosters, but others supporting animals, he said. In one undisputed account, said Ramsey, a Confederate soldier carried his rooster with him for 2 years. The rooster's tale did not end well, though, as he ended up in the bellies of some Union soldiers. So he's going into character of this Confederate soldier who happened to have a pet rooster. I think he was probably researching the wars because he loved Peep so much. He's like, how do I use Peep? Here, this is my favorite hobby. This is my favorite pet. How do I put 2 and 2 together? And he looks up, oh my goodness, there is actually a soldier who carried a rooster around. So when Peep entered into Ramsey's life, it didn't seem unheard of to take the young bird with him into battle. We were at the house getting ready for an event, and we're sitting there playing with him, and we're like, let's take him with us, he said. At first event, one of Ramsey's friends was carrying Peep in a bag by his side. But when the friend got hit, Peep hopped out and just strolled about. I feel like that's kind of wrong, bringing an animal into these traumatic events. Anyway, let's continue about the rooster. The spring event was the third Peep has been part of, and they were headed home when they stopped in Coleman. The young men took the rooster out of the cab of the truck, attached him to his leash, and walked him around. A rooster leash. I've never heard of that. While they went in to eat, they tied the rooster's leash to the bed of the truck, as they had done several times before.
That okay.
But an hour later, Ramsey's friend went outside and came back with bad news. He said he's gone, man.
Wait. So somebody must have freed the rooster then, if it was tied to something. Somebody must have gone over and untied the rooster.
Or maybe it was just naturally loose.
I mean,
it just literally goes to...
Brandon, they said they did it a bunch of times before. It doesn't sound like they make a mistake.
His friend goes to the owner and goes, he's gone, man.
No!
Not Pete. I went back into the Cracker Barrel, and it was very hard for me to say this with a straight face, even though I was panicking. Do you have cameras in the parking lot? I think someone stole my chicken. What do you mean? You didn't order chicken, you ordered the steak. No, my pet chicken. Someone overheard and said they'd been seen Peep wandering in the parking lot. He called the police, and called an animal control officer. Cooper Harris responded to the call. Harris has been an animal control officer for about 5 months, and this was only his second call regarding a chicken, and the first that involved one that had gone missing. Quote from Harris, a serious quote. He goes, I'd say it's very, very, very rare. So the owner, Ramsey, is very dedicated to Harris's dedication to finding Peep. He spent an hour and a half riding around looking for Peep. Harris even checked with a nearby farmer to see if he'd pick up the roaming rooster. With the farmer's permission, checked the coop to see if Peep following the birds of a feather flock together. Adage. So he was looking for Peep through the other birds. But by this time, Ramsey had posted a missing chicken post and photos to several Coleman Facebook pages. Every 5 minutes, there was someone responding that they were looking for him. Ramsey continued on his home in Mississippi, hopeful that someone would find his feathered friend. 30 minutes away from his home, he received the news that Jeremy Cox had found Peep. So Jeremy Cox found the cock.
How do you know which rooster it is?
I don't know. Well, I don't know. So it just makes sense. If your name is Cox, chances are you know a thing or two about cocks. Wherever the rooster wandered to, or wherever roads he may have crossed, he'd found his way back to the Cracker Barrel parking lot where Cox found him. His adventures continued from there. He just went back to the parking lot. It's kind of like my dog. So we were at the diner years ago, and I think my dad butted the key, and the door opened. My dog Baron walked out of the car, this pit bull, which a lot of people would be afraid of. And someone came into the diner and said, "Is that your pit bull?" And Baron was literally just strolling in front of the van, and he saw the person, got scared, and went back into the van. It was very adorable.
Aww.
So the dedication animals have to their owners, even Peep. But it was John Watson, a local farmer who'd been posting advice on finding and catching Peep, who drove the rooster to Birmingham, where Teen and Bird were reunited. Watson said he'd stepped up to help because it's important to him to spread love for a fellow man or woman. "I believe in paying it forward," said Watson. "God has blessed my family so much throughout the years. I believe we should be kind to our fellow man. Yes, it was just a chicken, but it was his, and he clearly cared for it." Last paragraph. "There's no doubt about Ramsey's affection for Coleman. I was really impressed. I love y'all's town now," he said. "I can't think of many places where there are that many people willing to take the time to help out like that." Continue following the adventures of Peep. You can check out his Instagram page at Peep the Towel.
All right, let's check it out.
At Peep_the_towel.
Hold on a second. I'm going to look it up.
As you're looking it up, I just want to have some final thoughts. I do think, in all seriousness, I think it's a very sweet story that one man can care for his pet rooster so much, and that other people cared and paid it forward. And the community literally came together to find this lost animal and brought him back to his owner. I think that's genuinely a very sweet article, a very sweet story. And although we had our fun, we were poking fun, I have nothing but respect for Ramsey and Peep and the people that found him. So it's a very wholesome, nice story. Do you have it, Scott?
Peep the Towel? What is it?
Peep_the_towel.
Oh, I found it. All right, we're following it.
Okay, Scott, I really hope you enjoyed that little story, a little peek into the world of Peep.
That was a really interesting and long-winded story. There's
was.
a lot of twists and turns. Peep's lost, and then Peep being found again.
I'm a little blown out from saying all those words about our favorite rooster, so I think we should call it quits for the show. But it was fun, Scott. It was a lot of fun today.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening and watching, and it's good to upload a video. We haven't done so in a couple months, so thank you.
Yeah, we should hopefully do this again soon. Fingers crossed. We are on Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, SoundCloud, and YouTube, and a bunch of other podcasting platforms. We have a Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We post every now and then. We even have a website, nonsensenewsnation.com. And if you want to contact us personally and tell us your favorite story, your favorite Civil War reenactment story, because we're curious about it, you can contact us at nonsensenewsradio@gmail.com. That is nonsensenewsradio@gmail.com. Once again, I've been Brandon Ellis.
I've been Scott Honickman.
And this was Totally Nonsense on Nonsense News Nation. We'll see you next time. Peace and love.
Bye, everyone.